Welcome to Bible Study with Fred. I'm continuing in Leviticus chapter 13. I'm going to read 8 verses 18 through 37. Hope you'll follow along with me in your Bible and make some brief comments today. So we're continuing with the discussion of leprosy, the commandments and the laws regarding leprosy. The flesh also, which even in the skin thereof was a boil on his heel. That was verse 18. And the place of the boil there shall be white rising, or a bright spot, white and somewhat reddish, and it be showed to the priest. And if when the priest seeth it, behold, it be in sight lower than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, the priest shall pronounce them unclean. It is a plague of leprosy broken out of the boil. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hairs therein, if it be not lower than the skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. If it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. But the bright spot, say, in his place, and spread not, it is a burning boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or if there be any flesh in the skin whereof there is a hot burning, and the quick flesh burneth that have a bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning. Wherefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hair in the bright spot, and it be no lower than the other skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. The priest shall look upon him the seventh day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. The bright spot stay in its place and spread not in the skin, but it be somewhat dark, it is a rising of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is an inflammation of the burning. If a man or a woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scald, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. If the priest look on the plague of the skull, and behold, it be not in sight deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague of the skull 7 days. And the seventh day the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the skull spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the skull be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven, but the skull shall he not shave, and the priest shall shut him up that hath the skull 7 days more. And the seventh day the priest shall look on the skull, and behold, if the skull be not spread in the skin, nor be in sight deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the skull spread much in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the skull be spread in the skin, the priest shall not see, for yellow hair he is unclean. If the skull be in his sight at a stay, and that there is a black hair grown up therein, the skull is healed, he is clean, the priest shall pronounce him clean. Yeah, it's a lot of very specific stuff. There are interesting sermon possibilities in these passages about the plague of leprosy. One can imagine verses 18 to 20 that sin which we thought was conquered rises up again in a time of distress or carelessness and so forth. Um, so there's a lot of things, but we should be careful about forcing the context to justify something we want to say, as fundamentalists do, putting the Bible stamp of approval on some social condition of the past that we wish would come back. Many commentators have tried to use this chapter to explain society's ills and why there are many interesting sermon possibilities on leprosy and sin. We must remember that these instructions were specific to the Hebrews under the law and had as much a physical application as they did a spiritual in the following of God's commands as he separated them from Egypt and the rest of the heathen world. This should reinforce to us how vile the ancient world had become, how wicked their religion, and how diseased their bodies could be. Some scientists who study syphilis, sexually transmitted disease, conclude that some of what was diagnosed as leprosy before modern times may have been that dreaded disease. I bring this up because of the sexual practices of ancient religion, which you and I have seen in our study. And while some scientists believe that Europeans contracted syphilis from their New World adventures in the Americas, these other scientists report that there is sufficient archaeological and documentary evidence from ancient times to insist that there were always syphilis or something like it in the old world, and it was sometimes diagnosed as leprosy. I've read different things back and forth that the explorers gave syphilis to the people in the New World, and then they took something called yaws back to England or Europe, or just reverse. So I'm sure there's scientists out there and historical scientists who will tell you, no, this is what happened. I'm just throwing some things out to think about. Okay, don't get too detailed and picking. Is this plague of leprosy including diseases from the lack of understanding of sanitation? and from the practices in pagan temples, making them not much more than houses of both heterosexual and homosexual prostitution. Whether the disease we know today as syphilis was present or not, could this have also been sexually transmitted diseases, such as well as leprosy, which produced visible skin lesions? We've had recently the whole monkeypox thing with the gay orgies and the bathhouses and stuff like that. So we know that sexual immorality can produce very physical, apparent physical disease. So anyway, we'll stop there. Please read your Bible, study your Bible, cross-reference the verses, pray to God for wisdom and understanding, and then share your interpretation with somebody else. All right. I thank you. Take care.